I would make $15 a week, saved up my money, bought myself video games, flipped video games, made more money, did stuff like that. My best week working at the barbershop as a kid was $40. So you can imagine how little I was making, but I was saving that money and reinvesting it. Tell me that you would like the story from Syria to the USA. So at 3 years old, I came from Syria to the USA. My dad came from Syria right when I was born, basically like the day that I was born, he left to America. And my mom and me and my sister stayed in Syria for 3 years until finally he was established. And then, we left Syria and came to America. I lived in New Jersey. So I lived in New Jersey from 3 to 11. I lived in Patterson, which is the hood. And then I moved to Spring Hill and Hudson when I came to Florida initially. After that, we moved to Oldsmar. This is basically Tampa market. And then we moved into Eastlake, which is part of the Tampa market. And along the way, I just learned as much as I could about finance because I thought it was crazy. I thought it was awesome. The amount of stuff you can do in the world of finance, if you know how to use the tools, is amazing. You really can go from nothing, right? I'm an immigrant child. I came to this country, worked hard. I worked in New Jersey. You could like in New Jersey, you would have like commercial downstairs and you would have like a house upstairs. So down the street, there was a barbershop. So I would go from my house and I'd walk two buildings down to the barbershop. His name was Al. And I would go and sweep hair at Al's barbershop. And it was cool. I would make $15 a week. Saved up my money, bought myself video games, flipped video games, made more money, did stuff like that. My best week working at the barbershop as a kid was $40. So you can imagine how little I was making, but I was saving that money and reinvesting it. When you're starting, you're not gonna make a lot of money when you reinvest. That's not the point. The point is for you to understand the concept and to learn good habits. And then as you grow, if you're good with $15 a week, you'll be good with $1.5 million a week, right? You just have to learn to be good with money. And yes, I do think I'm gonna get to the point where I'm making like $250,000 a week. I know I'm gonna be able to get to that point because money keeps growing as long as you keep investing. And eventually when you're making $100,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, as long as you stay humble, you will be able to not waste all that extra money and reinvest it. So that's how the rich get richer. Because if the rich are humble and you are able to save that money, you're still like really after $75,000 in a reasonable market. Like I'm not talking about New York City or LA, but in most of America, if you have $75,000 of income a year, you're living great. So if you're making $500,000 a year and you're living off of 100, 150, you have $350,000 being reinvested. And if you're reinvesting it in real estate, most of that money, if not all of the money, is going to be made tax-free. So I have a friend that's a doctor. He makes $350,000 a year. By the time he pays for all taxes and fees and everything else that it costs to be a doctor, he probably keeps like $150,000 to $200,000 of that money. But if I made that same amount of money as a real estate investor, I would pay almost no tax on that money because of all the incentives that I get as a real estate investor or a business owner. So definitely, you have to keep in mind the benefits that you get as a real estate investor tax-wise.